Now I'll put on my recording voice. My prayer was about the people that right now we're living in the confusing times, to protect our people against the virus, to look after our people all over Canada, all our people, our neighbors, because there's so much fear and apprehension out there, and to watch over our elders and our children, to protect them. And that's what I asked the Creator to do, that for all of us. And that's so important, that we're all in this together. If anything, that's interesting, what's happened in the last 2 years, this virus has made people stay home and get to know each other. Sometimes you're kind of surprised at who that person is, because we've lived a life where we're constantly on the road, we're constantly in our offices. We spend 8 hours in the office, 10 hours in the whole day, we're gone. So we don't spend much time with our children and our people, because the way society has created this work thing. Whereas in other countries, they're smart. They give them 4 hours to work and then spend a lot of time with families. And I think that's really important to understand that. Because mentorship is not only, when we talk about mentorship, starts at home. Excuse me. Mentorship starts at home. And that's where it starts with our moms and our dads and our grandfathers and our grandmothers. Excuse me. And so mentorship is the beginning of our lives. When we first enter this world, the mother looks after us. And when we look at English words of mentorship, is looking after, is teaching them. And so mentorship starts from when we're crawling. We're taught the good and the bad. We're taught about safety. We're taught about to be able to look after ourselves. And that's something Dr. Bruce Perry once said, the first 30 days the child is on this earth will set the tone for that child as an adult. And so that first 30 days, that mentorship of those parents teaching that child and making sure that child is strong and has a good environment, sets the tone for that young person, for that baby, to be a good person as he gets older. So we don't realize, what does that mean when we talk about mentorship? In English, it has this word. There's two kinds of mentorships where I come from. There's society's mentorship, and there's the traditional mentorship. And there's the human mentorship as we grow up. And we don't realize what that is. Like, if you're in hockey or if you're in sports, you have a coach that teaches you to be a good person. We're in a hockey tournament this past weekend, and a couple of the boys threw their sticks. They were angry because they lost. So they brought them into the dressing room at the end of the game and told them, that's not good. You represent the Musketeers. And you doing that is wrong. How are you going to be a better person if you get angry like that? You need to learn to control your anger. And so that's mentorship. And then my wife was invited to a young woman's ceremony where a young girl became a woman. And the grandmothers were brought in to speak to her about the rules and laws of a woman. Again, that's mentorship with a different word, though, but the same concept. Teaching her about the rights and wrongs of the world, and also her responsibility as a young woman now. Again, that was mentorship from a cultural perspective. But we don't realize in society that mentorship it comes in many forms in many situations. A lot of times people in different organizations tend to, like, for instance, if you look at us, my people, the Indigenous people, they tend to do as a pan-Indian, they call it, making all of us one. But we're not. In Alberta, we're unique. We have 7 or 8 different tribes living here and 7 different language groups in Alberta. And so this young person that's coming into you is not just an Indian or an Indigenous person, depending on whatever that term of the day is that government gives us. But as a Nahio and as a Anishinaabe, like, the Ojibwe, they call themselves Anishinaabe. We have Ojibwe people living in Alberta that have been here since the turn of the century, since the fur traders came. We have the Blackfoot people. We have the Nakota people. We have the Dene people. And we have so many different tribes living here in language grouping. So this person that you have in front of you that's coming to be a mentor that wants to learn, you need to find out where he or she comes from, because we're not the same. We have a different way of doing things and looking at things, even language, even culture. And that's really important to understand that. My Blackfoot brothers they speak their language, they have their ceremonies, and they have a certain way of looking at life, which is good. It may not be the same as how the Crees do it, but that's okay. It doesn't mean it's wrong, or there's no right or wrong. It's everybody does what they were brought up for. It took thousands of years to create us. It took 150 years for the government trying to change us. But we're still here. We're still who we are as Nahio, because Blackfoot people, Nakota people, and the Dene people, and all the different other tribes, the Tsuut'ina people. And so that's something that's really important to understand, that we are survivors of a genocide that happened 150 years ago, and that we're still here. I'm a third generation residential survivor. And so my grandfather went to industrial school in Red Deer. My mother went to residential school, and I went to residential school. Interesting enough, now that we're looking at what's happening with the TRC coming out with their recommendations, a lot of Canada doesn't even know these recommendations. Even governments and companies haven't really read the recommendations. They know of them sometimes, they hear of them. Like even this guy, I think I bought about 10 vehicles off of me, the Ford dealership down the road. Never even knew 10 miles away there was one of the largest residential schools in Western Canada here. So I had to teach him and tell him, hey, this is who I am. Yeah. And I said, you need to know who these people are that are buying these vehicles of, that are making your living, that you can make a living because of us. And so that's something, again, that's mentorship, and it's in a different form again. In our language, we have what you call uskapeos, means helper. And then in society, it's called intern. In ours, uskapes is a helper, but then you start from, I'm a helper. I started picking wood chips up to make the fire. That was my job. And I started picking up wood chips. And as I got older, my job got more responsibility was given to me. And so that's really important to understand that. And it's like that in society. When you're in society, you have a paper route, and as you get older, you get more jobs. Pretty soon you're working at a pizza place, or I don't know if I can say these names, but then there are these different companies that hire young people, and as they get older, they learn. I worked with the United Nations for 25 years. I worked with a NGO called the International Organization of Indigenous Resource Development. This NGO was created to be able to give my people a voice, because we didn't have a voice. Canada said they were our voice, but they weren't telling the whole truth. We needed to tell the truth. We needed to tell our own emotional truth. And so we created this NGO, and Dr. Littlechild was a key part of this. But there were some pioneers ahead of us that started this. It was George Manuel was the president for Indian Brotherhood in Ottawa. And my father, Albert Lightening, was one of the people, they were one of the people that started working on to create international awareness. Another thing is, a lot of people don't realize, the Indian Association of Alberta was created by people with the Dene people, with the Métis people, and also with the Treaty people. They met after dark. They traveled at night, because it was illegal for us to leave our area. The Indian agent had to give us permission, and they weren't going to give no one permission to go create an organization that was going to talk for themselves. And so they traveled across the country in the darkness of night to create an organization that would give them a voice. And these young people, and again, that was where my mentorship started, with traveling with my father and listening to these elders speaking at these conferences, at these meetings, with great passion as to what they wanted to see for the future people. But these young people today have the ability to be able to walk anywhere and ask for any job and apply for any job. They have the education now to be able to do that, the capacity to be able to fulfill the requirements of the various corporations and also government jobs and also institutions to be able to work there. That was never looked at before. Today, it's a reality. There was a passage I heard the other day I wanted to read to you. It says, "My environment, not my desire, develops my goals." And that's interesting. I thought about that. It's true. The desire can be there, but it's the support that we have. If you have a young man or a young woman in front of you that's made it to that point where she is made to be able to apply to be in your organization, he or she has gone through so many different hoops and loops to get to that position. She went beyond her environment, her or his environment, because that's the difficulty we have as Nehiyok, is that we have to fight to get to where we are. Dr. Lil Chaw was one of the first Indian lawyers. Tony Mandaman was the first first Supreme Judge. He's an Ojibwe from Manitoulin Island. These are the trailblazers. And today they mentor a lot of young people, young lawyers, young people that come to them for advice and direction. Mentorship is not, it can be short term, but also in our way of traditionalism, it's long term. It's a lifelong journey when you decide to be able, if you want to learn this specific task that you want to do. And so that's something about mentorship, is understanding what does that mean. But in order to do that, you have to have that honesty, that safety, so this young person can blossom into an amazing individual. Another area I worked with the TRC for a year. Well, prior to that, I worked with the United Nations for 25 years. And I had the opportunity to travel over the world to see people. And there were so many young people coming in there that wanted to work internationally. And they wanted to do this, but unfortunately they didn't, because where they came from, the environment wouldn't allow them. Whether it was South America or China or different places around the world, the environment held them back. The desire was there, but unfortunately the environment held them back. That's why that phrase, when I read that, came at me, and it made sense to me. And I understood what that meant. And that's so important to understand that, to be able to look at where we come from. And so even my mentorship as a child was growing up in residential school, and that all the ugliness and the sadness I seen, it held me back for a long time, until I was able to get beyond that and come to that point in my life and accept what happened in there wasn't my fault, that I was just part of the process. I was part of the ugliness. As a child, I had no control, or I had no one to protect me. So I came to that point in my life where I accepted that and moved on. Forgiveness it's something, there are some things in life you can't forgive. And that's when I teach I do workshops, and I tell them, don't get caught up on forgiveness, because if you can't forgive, let's accept that it happened and move on. It wasn't your fault. And so that's part of mentorship. And we talk about that. Sometimes we'll deal with people that are struggling with whatever addictions they have. And then we have to give them that little bit of saying, talk to them and say, hey, you have the capacity to do this, but you need to let that go and move on. You can be successful. That's what I always tell young people. Let it go. It's the past. It's where it belongs. And that's something we need to do to move forward. I come from a family, academics is a very strong thing in my family. It's because my aunt was a nun, of all things, but she also got a PhD, and she used the institution that she was in to get her degree, her PhD in education. My mother has her PhD in education as well. So what happened in my family, I had 11 children. I had 6 girls, 5 boys. And I had a 20-year-old daughter that committed suicide. And I had to learn from that. An elder asked me one day, he said, what did you learn from your daughter's death? And it really made me think about that. What did that mean? What the heck did he mean by that? I said. And so I asked him, give me some time to think about this, to feel about this, and I'll come back to you. And so when I did, finally went back to him and I said, what it did, it gave me insight as to the parents, what they went through. It gave me an understanding of the children, what they went through. And I was able to see the bigger picture. Of course, the question of why will probably continue throughout my reality. It's not just a question that seems to be at the back of my mind, but it'll always be there, and I accept that. But the thing is, what happened was that what taught me that, then I asked him, this is good, he told me. He said, her suicide wasn't for nothing. You learned from that. She paid your price. And I went, wow, a hell of a price to pay. So sometimes when we talk about mentorship, it comes in many different forms of teaching and many different ways of doing things. And so and even to the point we may not even understand how this work. And then sometimes when we come from crisis and we ask, and we let that hold us back, we need to let that go and learn from that and not repeat that crisis with our children. In my family, the word we never heard was love. Sagito, and from my family, and my wife is from Birch Island, and she never heard the word love either. Her mother was a residential survivor. So we changed that up in our family, and we tell our children we love them. When they walk in the door and they walk out the door, we tell them we love them. When our last phone call, when we talk them on the phone, we love you. That was our last. And what we're doing is mentoring them, telling them that we love them by showing them, not talking about it. See, mentoring can be done by talking about it, but I think action speaks louder than words many times. And we need to take that time and to be able to have that, to be able to take time to give them that time to grow. Sometimes we want things to happen instantaneously. It's not going to happen. As human beings, we were created to be imperfect. We were born to make mistakes. But those mistakes is what we learn from. And that's what the Creator created us that way. That was what an elder shared with me one time. My grandfather shared with me one time, and it made sense. It's not an excuse, it's a reality. And so when we talk about mentorship program, we need to understand there's going to be some people that are going to make mistakes. But the thing is that as people, as senior people, we need to walk with them and tell them, okay, let's learn from this mistake. Shaming is something that people are, it's easy.
I'm not sure if it's just my computer or if it's your computer too, Muslim Rick. There might be just a little bit lag in the internet there. Hopefully give a minute and you'll be able to join us again. It's lagging there too. Thank you for letting me know. Just take a minute to be appreciative so far of the strength that Muslim Rick has in sharing. I hope he's able to rejoin us again. Maybe you're able to restart. I see he's left now, so hopefully he can come back and take some time. And so thank you everyone for your patience. You know, I see that we have over 20 people joining us here today. This is our second talk with Knowledge Keepers, Elders, with AMP. And a part of my position, and I'm sorry, Mr. Mick reminded me of this. I'm Tanya Taranjo. I'm originally from Treaty 8 territory in the Northwest Territories, but I've moved to Alberta to be warmer weather, although it hasn't been warmer weather recently. I'm an Indigenous engagement lead and really trying to bring awareness. Northwest Territories, Salt River, Fort Smith, actually, Ron. But I did work in Snowdrift before, which is also known as Litsake. Beautiful area. Yeah, I'm really happy to be in this position with Alberta Mentoring Partnership and raising awareness about Indigenous mentoring and what it means for our youth. And when I say that, when I say Indigenous mentoring, I'm also including the importance of having non-Indigenous mentors for our Indigenous youth. To me, it's really important that our youth walk in both worlds and that they have that guidance, that mentorship from Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, because we need to be successful, you know, outside of our Indigenous communities and build those relationships, you know, whether it's through career pathways or networking in education. It's just something to give our youth more for a better future. And I know many of you I see in the chat room are Indigenous yourself, and you know how hard it is for our youth. You know, in Alberta, Indigenous youth make up, or Indigenous people make up 6% of the Alberta's population. However, we make up 50% plus of the population in jails. Our youth aren't graduating as non-Indigenous people are. Our youth are struggling to enter the career workforce. And what drew me to this mentoring position is research shows that mentoring can make a difference, that mentoring could bring more positive outcomes to our Indigenous youth. So by having a good mentor in their life, that they can get through high school, that they can get through those challenging times. Oh, he's back. Woohoo! I'm so happy. Not that I don't want to continue talking, because I can continue talking about Indigenous mentoring all the time, but I really want to have this time with Muslim Rick. Muslim Rick, you're still on. There you go. Passing it back to you. We're happy that you were able to rejoin us.
Welcome to the Reserve Life.
Oh gosh, yes, Reserve Life, and maybe you've frozen again. There's a challenge though, right? Are you able to come back to us? Maybe try to rejoin us again. Yeah, so as I was saying with the Indigenous mentoring, it's finding those solutions for our youth to have a better tomorrow. And if we can encourage more people to sign up to be a mentor in Alberta, whether it's an Indigenous youth or any youth, it's just making a stronger, better tomorrow for everyone. Because I truly believe in that old quote, when the tide rises, all boats rise. So if we can make it better for all of us, you know, we can have a stronger community together. And for all youth, that's so important. And we'll try one more time, Muslim Rick.
Okay, I'm back. What can I do? Maybe we can do if there's any questions. If they have any, let's go there while I'm still here somehow.
Yeah. So I'll encourage anyone, if they have questions, to put it in the chat room. And in the meantime, Muslim Rick, there's this great mentoring program that's happening in Musqueam with families. Could you tell us a little bit about that program?
Okay, what we're doing is called the Deadly Dads. And there's another one. What it is we're taking young men, young fathers, and we're trying to do is we're giving them better ideas and giving them a place to be able to ask questions. So a lot of times young men don't know how to be a dad. My first time being a dad was an interesting experience. I didn't have a clue. but then it really helps. And so a lot of us grandfathers and uncles and people, we meet with young men and we talk to them about being a parent and telling them what are the responsibilities of being a dad and how do we do this and what does it need to be done, and to be there for their wives, and like, like this concept of the wife does all the work and we sit on the couch, watch TV. We tell them, no, you get up and wash the dishes, you get up and do the laundry, you have to do 50-50. In this world we live in today, there's a shared responsibility to be a dad and a parent. And so that's something that's really important. We tell our young men and work with them. And as well as we do the cultural part of it as well. And we have sweats with them. And we teach them how to make a fire, and we teach them the relevance of what is a sweat. And a lot of people don't understand. Matutsan is how we say it in our language. It means crying lodge. Well, you come in there and you pray to the Creator in your own language, in your own way, and you bring in what is it that you want. And you come in there to release the negative energy. And then we also bring them to the Sundance Lodge, and we help them understand what that's all about. We talk about language a lot of times. We talk about different hunting is another thing. Our young men, we take them out hunting and teach them how to the responsibilities of hunting. So that's something we do. And then there's a woman's program, our grandmother's program, that works with the young woman at the clinic when they come in for their first time to do their check-ins with their pregnancy, and their grandmothers are there to talk to the young girls as well and telling them about the responsibilities, and this does not as a structured but more of a informal way of teaching these young girls and being there for them if they have questions to ask. Because unfortunately, a lot of grandparents have passed away. So a lot of young people don't have grandparents to be able to bounce something out or be able to speak to them. So we have these two programs that are working together in unison. And it's something to be able to provide our community with stronger parents and giving them a stronger parental, to giving the child, it's all about the child, giving that child a strong foundation for for these children to grow up in. And we talk about addictions and we talk about different things as well, that, especially with a young woman, that not if she can stay away from addictions and bring this child and they'll have a healthy child and strong. And as well as the young men, is that if you're into addictions then it's something you need to put aside and put away. As your wife gets bigger, you need to be stronger as well, and be a partner, a true partner with her as she grows, as this child grows inside her. So that's the kind of a thing we're doing with these young parents. It's really amazing. We went to Australia and they really liked what we're doing, and we were up in Fort Chip, and we talked to the elders there, and they're starting their own mentorship program as well up there with the men and with the young couples. And so we're doing that as well. That's something that's really important. And we do that also in schools. We talk to a lot of times children will come over, young people will come over and say, I want to learn how to make a fire, how to do this and do that. And we're there for them to help them and provide this information and give them awareness as a Nehio, that this is what we have to do. And this is what we are. And sometimes they ask about, how do I pray? And we tell them, pray from your heart and think and pray for whatever you're asking the Creator and giving them. There's a prediction this grandmother from Rocky Boy, Montana brought to me. We were sitting in a cultural camp, and she said, our young people are not going to have a belief. And when they don't have beliefs, the Dark One will start collecting their souls. That was the prediction that was given to her, she said, 100 years ago. And so when I look at that today, that prediction is coming true. And that's something we need to get our young people and our children in our homes to be able to understand. I'm not here to say whose prayer is better, as long as you pray, as long as you believe in something, and that you declare that you're with the Creator, and that gives you that you can that stops the dark side from coming to see you. And I know I'm not here to change anybody's religion or anything like that, but it's real. sat down with the priest last week, and we talked about the realities of the good and the good and the evil, and that the evil is real and it's happening across our country, and that we need to understand that. And so our young people need to have mentorship programs on the reserves, in the cities, and it comes in many forms, whether it's young boys club or, these clubs are really important for our young people to grow and develop a sense of responsibility and a sense of identity as to who they are, and to be strong young people. But that's something that's we need to start promoting and supporting these kind of programs so that we can do that. Like we're looking at doing a round dance in the fall, in the springtime, and it's going to be celebrating life with our young parents in our both the grandmother's program and the grandfather's program. We're going to be promoting that, and as well as the mentor program, as long as Tanya's program is going to support us as well. And we've had some other donations coming in. So this round dance is going to be I believe in March, and we're hoping we get to have this round dance. Depending on the virus, it's just it's got everybody on edge, and nobody's really unsure what the future holds for us. But we're looking at something that's positive, and we want to promote life. And everyone is in a round dance. Everybody's invited to come and dance, and so that's something that we're promoting. That, and we'll be doing that in March. We're working with the University of Alberta as well, with the different research programs. And so this one is an activity that's coming out of U of A we call it the Deadly Dance. And so it's something that we're doing with the young men. We meet once a week, and it's open to everyone. It's not a closed, it's open to everybody to come and meet with us. And the grandmothers as well, when they go to the clinics, they work out of Wetaskiwin and Ponoka with the pediatricians, and be able to talk to the young mothers as to if they have any questions, they're there for them to answer. So that's something that's really exciting that we're doing, and it's really moving ahead.
That's so great. Thank you so much for sharing about the programs that you have there in Maskwacis. And also thank you for stressing about that, our cultural events like sweats and round dances and powwows, they're open, they're not just for Nehewak to attend, they're for everyone to come and attend. Come with a good heart and experience our events. They're not closed.
No, and the thing is, don't let fear stop you. I was on a program called First Contact, and I had 6 people from across Canada, 8 people across Canada stayed with me. They'd never been on a reserve in their lives. And we took them to the powwow in Ermiskin, and they were so scared to get out of the van. It was really funny. And so when they finally got out of the van, they found out the food vendors are pretty neat, the different foods to eat. And they found out the songs and the people, nobody attacked them, nobody scalped them. We were having this discussion after they came back from the powwow. But that was their own fear and their own ignorance. And a lot of times when people do come out, they really enjoy themselves, and no one attacks no one. It's an activity, it's a ceremony of life. But that was the other part I wanted to bring in as far as mentorship. And in society, it's a ritual kind of a base concept. With us, our Skapios is about culture and it's ceremony. And so there's a very big difference between ceremony and ritual. Ritual has no spirit. Ceremony has a spirit. And so what I've been doing is telling, companies need to do is bring ceremony into their workspace, and so that they'll be, and it's something like smudging is good for everyone. It's not just an Indian thing. It's for any nation can smudge and feel better and clean their aura. It's something that we can all share together. And when in the sweats, when they come, and I've had people from India, from Greece, from Japan, from Australia, from all over the world come to sweat with me. And I always tell the people, pray in your own language. Don't pray in English. And learn about your language. I spoke at a world conference, a national Canadian conference on teachers. And I told them, who are you? Like you're not 150 years old. You come from ancestors that come from thousands of years. When you come to Canada, don't shed that. I come up with a term that's really interesting, and I think it's really important in the workplace. It's not to become what our ancestors don't become what your ancestors ran away from. And that's something that's, and people I've been telling them that, and they're being on, it's making them think. Why did you say that? Is, well, what did your ancestors run away from to come to Canada? Are you becoming that? Is your organization becoming that? Are you as an individual becoming that, as a Canadian? That you have to look at that. And mentorship is a personal thing that we need to know as individuals, but we also need to realize our prejudices, our fears, and all of those things take into place when we have young people in front of us. We need to look at that and say, how can you actually do an honest relationship with this individual if you're not being honest? And I think that's really important. And so that we need to look at that. And look at where is that coming from? When you have these judgments and ignorances and prejudices and fears, and those control your emotions, those control your actions, those control what you're seeing from your eyes. You're looking at this person in front of you. All of those things are all moving in your head, and they're all making, and the thing is, the mind doesn't feel nothing. The heart feels something. And that sometimes I find in corporations that it promotes you to think more than to feel. And in the Japanese people and the various other cultures around the world are promoting that mind and body to be able to have that balance, to be able to have a good working place in a working space, rather than just thinking. And so that's something I'm noticing across the world, that they're finally waking up and saying we need to have a human being that can both feel but also feel and think together and get that balance. And I think that's so important in any kind of mentorship program that's out there, any kind of corporation, institution, or any group that works with young people. They need to understand that, be able to, but they also need to understand the individual in front of them. What was the road that got them there? They're survivors of something, and they need to be recognized and respected for them to get to that point where they're standing in front of you. And I think that's so important to understand. And it doesn't matter what walk of life. If you have a Filipino that's in front of you, they had to suffer to get there, to get that job, to be there. And they're willing. But one thing I want to share is being a mentor, being in that program, you can never be too good to do something. If it's whatever job it is, if it's going to put food on your table, then if it's McDonald's or if it's Tim Hortons, wherever all the other places you need to work to help you move towards your goal, that's only a small part of the journey. Go ahead and do it. And don't be too good to be, no one's too good not to be able to work. My granddaughter told me that one day. She says, I'm working in McDonald's because it's just part of my job, but it's helping me move forward. And then I'm going to finish my degree. And that's part of my vision. And I said, right on. And I think that's the problem is with that. We all need to understand what is the vision of this individual. And a lot of these questionnaires they have in front of you, and when they give everybody, okay, and none of them really talk about what is your personality, what is your vision, what do you want to accomplish, and where do you want to go? And they don't talk about the human part of the questions. It's all mental thoughts, nothing about emotional. And HR tries to tell you, well, we can't go there, but yet it comes out later on, and we need to be able to understand who this individual is and if we can help them. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, you've given us so much advice for working with Indigenous youth, Muslim Rick. We have one question in the chat. A lot of our agencies who work with Indigenous youth, they're white, they're settlers, and they want to try to find a connection for their Indigenous youth with maybe more Indigenous mentors out there. What advice would you give these white agencies who want to be allies to Indigenous communities and find more Indigenous mentors?
First of all, I would say, take the settler away and become a partner. And I think if we can become partners and develop a trust with each other, and then what happens, we become an effort. When we use settler, I hear this word time and time again, and I find, okay, settler means I'm not originally from Canada. Okay, fine. We understand that. But the thing is, what if we are partners? Because no one's leaving. So we need to develop a partnership together. And able to do that partnership, we have to develop a trust and understanding of each other. And so in order to be these corporations or people to do that, they need to be able to make that effort. I had a person that my wife's friend, she went to Lester B. Pearson College with him years ago, and he has a company. He says, I really would like to help the people. I says, great. I got a hockey team. You can buy them some jerseys and we'll put your name on the back. And he says, really? Yeah. So we worked together on that. And what happens is the young people benefit from it. He benefits from it. And so then again, you better put gloves on. Again, that's partnership, working together. And so there's different kinds of partnerships, and there's different things to do. And then like even this round dance, who wants to support us in the round dance and then come and dance with us? And we'll provide. See, what happens is we'll do the advertising for you. We'll say, this is who did this is who supports us, and this is cool. You got to close it fast. Just throw them in. My son's throwing it. We got to start. There you go. There. Got to do it Indian style. Trying to be nice.
You're mentoring right here online with us.
That's right. That's mentoring my son, telling him how to put the stray cat in this big cat box. He's trying to be nice. Says, throw him in. And so, but that's the thing, is a partnership. When you talk about partnership, then that creates a whole new idea. It creates something on effort, but it also, partnership means everyone benefits. It's not a one-way street. I think that's the bottom line, is that we can, but you also got to be aware of the tricksters. I'm not going to say that all Indians are great people and all corporations. There's tricksters, and you have to be careful. Do your due diligence to find out before you give us $100,000. You say, you never give an Indian, a poor Indian, $100,000 and say, here, keep this for me. There's got to be due diligence to be able to do right, to be able to come up with something that's positive and then works to the future, and it's beneficial for both people, for both groups. How's that?
That is fantastic. It's absolutely right, because we want partnerships. Indigenous people want relationships, and we want to build a foundation, and we need that trust to be able to say, let's work together. And once you have that, magic can happen. We've seen that everywhere, and that's the beauty. I think that as Indigenous people, we are the most inclusive that there are out there. Everyone can come to a powwow, Asians, Blacks, Europeans, we're the most inclusive. We want relations with everyone.
That's right. And the thing is, it's like the fear stops everybody. I call it intergenerational ignorance. It's your great grandfather never set foot on a reserve, but yet he passed this ignorance on to you, and you're still carrying it on 3 generations on, and nobody's ever been on a reserve, but yet they have these real hardcore defined thoughts of who we are, and it's always a negative, and they don't even know. And then they finally meet us, they're going, wow, they have this aha moment that we're really nice people, and we're very giving, and we're very sharing. And it's always interesting when you see these aha moments that these people have when they finally get to meet us and cross the river, and instead of throwing rocks at us, they should come over and build a bridge. And I think the bridge building is something that I've heard that years ago, where we need to do bridge building between communities. What I think we need to do is the whole settler came out, and I struggled with that word because it still meant white person. It didn't mean, but here's the interesting part. It's interesting, I find settler defines white people, but then we have Black settlers, we have Chinese settlers. You never hear them saying they're settlers. I'm
No.
probably gonna get shot out of the water, but you know what I mean is we have Chinese Canadians, we have Black Canadians, we have all these Ukrainian Canadians, but you never hear of white Canadians. But they only hear of, and so there again is that whole concept of pigeonholing everybody and then making it comfortable so that everybody's comfortable. And so what happens is that comfortability comes at a cost. And that's where we create that ignorance that's out there. And that's something that's so important to understand, that it's okay to be different. It's all right to be Korea. They spent 150 years trying to make us not Indian, but we're still here. Like the prime minister himself said that, kill the Indian and save the child. Well, look where that got us. You know, and now that we're talking about the TRC and the graves that are being found. There's over 7,000 children that were found, were graves that were unmarked graves. Society, grandfathers and parents should be up and on saying, this is wrong. Where is that feeling? Where's that? Like if that was their child, it was a white child. And even the word, they didn't even want to use the word that of genocide. They didn't like that word because it doesn't taste good. Yeah. And so what happens? Let's use it. It's like settler. I can say that word and it's comfortable. Well, it's still not the right word. And I think that's the problem with wordplay. We tend to say things that are comfortable, but and like Dr. Anderson said, Ann Anderson from Winnipeg said, if we're going to ask those uncomfortable questions, we've got to be ready for the uncomfortable answers. And I think that's where we're at today, is that the fear of asking those questions, the fear of that reality, this is what the churches, the government, and the police did to us. And then people talk about, my wife came up with a really interesting, says, we're talking about reconciliation. Inez says, we talk about reconciliation, but then why are we part of reconciliation? We didn't do nothing wrong. It's like somebody came up with the buzzword of reconciliation for all of us. But really, we're not part of the reconciliation. We didn't do nothing wrong. So why are we part of that equation of reconciliation? And Indians need to participate in reconciliation. But why should we? We didn't do anything wrong. So that it's that wordplay, English wordplay, that is wordsmithing, creates words. And so they made this word, and all of a sudden, poof, we're part of that. And as Indian people, we shouldn't accept that. I'm not part of reconciliation because I didn't do anything wrong. It's the other party, but it's like, let's all be together. So we're going to have this word reconciliation, and you and I are going to be part of this. Well, why should I? I didn't do anything wrong. So that was my food for thought. My Nez came up with that the other day, and she said, I really thought about this. Why should I use the word reconciliation? Because they ask you, what can you do for reconciliation? Yeah. I don't know. I didn't do anything wrong.
I hear you, Musum. When non-Indigenous people ask me what they can do for reconciliation, one thing I like to share is I say, you can mentor an Indigenous youth. You can make a difference in their life. Take some time, maybe give them some career advice, talk to them about school, maybe attend a powwow with them, win-win, learn from each other, build a relationship, make a better tomorrow,
Like in the last 3 years, I worked at the University of Alberta. There was a quota system for Indigenous people to go in to be doctors. We had a dean, we spoke to him. He was an amazing individual. He opened the door. We went from 2 people to 21 applicants last year. So that's reconciliation from not from us, from them, opening the door. If anything is reconciliation, what can you do? Open the door.
I love that. That's great. That's great. Musum Rick, we could spend hours with you. Thank you so much for the hour you spent with us here today. The knowledge you shared was so inspiring, and I hope helps a lot of programs out there to think about what they can do to, be better allies, to open those doors, to build those partnerships, and, and be our friends, right? That's what
Yes.
we're asking for tomorrow.
Yep, because I had a company that came to see me, said, we want to bless this ground. Can you come and pray for us? I'm starting a new company, and I said, it's in Millet, and he's doing an amazing job. He's kept his word. He's all the people he's hired are from Musquechies, and he's done his due diligence. He got them all there, and they're working. My grandson was there, and he really likes it. The guy treats him well. And so that's important, and then that's something that it's so he took that risk to come and somehow found me, and the next thing I know, and that's just companies, people will come to see me, and I'll tell them the same thing: open the door. Don't let fear guide you. Fear, don't let that stop you.
That's awesome. Awesome, Mr. Rick. Thank you again. I hope that we have some more time with you in the future. We will definitely invite you back, and we want to continue the relationship and talk more about the Deadly Dads Round Dance, and we'll share that information with our partners. Maybe there's some out there that would also like to help sponsor the giveaway or other parts of Round Dance or future powwows. There's lots of opportunities to have those relationships, build those partnerships. I'm happy to connect anyone with Muslim Rick or anyone else in Musquechies that, are working on these various mentoring programs.
Yes, and come sweat with me.
Hey, yes, that would be fantastic. Andy, oh, go ahead.
I've had people from all around the world sweat with me, and that's part of becoming a partner in our lives. And one student from the university is part Filipino, and his mother's white, and he's learning my songs, and he's singing with me, which is cool. But also told him, now that you need to go back to your grandparents and learn your language. So they're so excited to teach him now, because he's never asked them. So the Filipino grandparents, his Lolo and Lola, are really excited. They're teaching him their language. He said, I don't know why I never asked them before. He said, so it's not only do you want to learn about us, you should go home and ask your grandparents, who are you? What's your history? So that 150 years, you weren't born. You come from, everyone in Canada comes from people that are thousands of years old. Don't let that go to dust. Keep that. Be proud of who you are and where you come from. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rick. Our time's come to an end. I'll ask Andy to put up our closing slide. I'll thank all of our attendees. If you're not a partner of AMP, please consider joining us and being a partner. We also have an upcoming webinar for males mentoring on January 21st. All month long is mentoring month. Promote it. Go to our social media, retweet, reshare, repost. Encourage someone to become a mentor. Check out our website. If you want some more information about Indigenous mentoring programs, shoot me an email. I'm here at AMP to support you. With that, I say have a wonderful afternoon. Take care, everyone, and make it home safely tonight and enjoy your family. Hi, masicho.